I am Polygroid and you are learning at impolygroid channel. Enjoy and have a great time.
I'm sorry. I'm going to have to ask you to speak up a little. I can't hear you very well. Okay. No problem. Yes. Well, what's your first question? I want to know more how it started. Well, it started by accident. Well, with an accident, yes, I'd been injured. Once too often playing polo. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes, I understand. Good, good. And sir, at age 50, I decided to give up the big love of my life and look elsewhere for some fun. No, that didn't come out right. I'm going to insist we do that again. Excuse me. We're going to go again. Again. You ready? Yes. Yes. And sir, at age 50, I decided to give up the big sporting love of my life and look for new challenges. Come on. Higher. Which is how I ended up carriage driving. There you go. Come on. Burr. Come on. Come on. We've become quite a gang. Traveling up and down the country. From competition to competition. It's become something of a second family. What? When? Right. Thank you. Amazing grace. How sweet the sound. That saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. The Lord. Thank you, Peggy. There's a school of progressive medical thought that suggests we bring cancer upon ourselves as a result of repressed emotion or unresolved psychological trauma. Then a perfectly angelic 5-year-old dies of it. And you realize what utter rubbish that is. Poor Norton. Yes. Why don't you pay him a visit? He could probably do with some support from his godfather. Yes. Yes, right. What's that look? I've never seen so many thoughts go on behind someone's eyes. Gratitude. Appreciation. What for? You make a better person of me. And you of me. Isn't that the point of marriage? Good night. Good night. Hello? Hi. You are coming? Sorry, one of those mornings. We're there in 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute. 1 minute away, and she apologizes. Was that actually her? Yes, that was actually her. How's the prince? Up here. Diana. Thanks for agreeing to this. Of course. We saw the pictures of you in Italy. Diana. Well, you all looked so happy. If only you knew. Really? It's honestly worse than ever. I'm at a loss for what to do. Is that your work? No, no. Come on. Squish in. All right. James Colthurst, isn't it? Ah. Yes. Do you have a moment? Which one? Tall with glasses? I know the one. Clark Kent. He said his name was Andrew. That's just what I call him, silly. Andrew Morton. He's one of the friendly ones. He's written nice things about me in the past. Well, now he wants to write a whole book about you and what it's really been like marrying into the royal family. The truth behind the fairy tale. I said you'd never agree to be involved in something like that. Oh, no. Then we arranged to play squash. What? He saw my racket in my office and suggested a game. James. Don't worry. I said any further discussion of you was totally off limits. It had better be. I'll call you after I've seen him. Hello? Thank you. Hello, hello. Oh no. What have I done now? Well, you're here. Today. Norton said you were coming tomorrow. He just left for London. For meetings with the bank. Well, let me see if I can reach him. Oh, don't go to any trouble. What can I get you? Are you hungry? Oh God, no. No. Nothing like that. No, I just came by to see how you were coping. That's kind. And to bring these daisies. For Leonora. You mentioned at the memorial that they were her favorite. That's so kind of you. Shall we take them to her? Norton thought it was morbid to have her so close, but I wanted somewhere I could see her every day. Be near to her every day. It also means I can never leave here. Why would you want to? It's not always easy. You know, one of the many things that attracted me to Lilibet was that the commitment would necessarily be lifelong. And to a young man who'd had such an unsettled, nomadic childhood, the clarity of that permanence felt so reassuring. It still does. But it brings its problems too. Because it doesn't take into account the one thing human beings do the minute they make a commitment to a life together, which is grow in separate directions. Tell Norton I'll be sure to be in touch soon for a godfatherly chat. And as for you, there's two things you might consider. Why not start a charity in Leonora's name? Yes, I'd already had that idea. And you might find yourself a hobby. Something that has nothing to do with any of this. Oh, not a hobby. An escape. A passion. I'll bear that in mind. Good. Oh, speaking of hobbies. Norton said that you'd given up polo and developed a thing for carriage driving. I have, yes. I'm obsessed. Why? Look at that. An old 4-in-hand. Norton wanted to sell it. You can't do that. We've been told it's beyond repair. Then he thought, if you could make use of it. Well, she may be a bit dusty. Oh, I think the damage is worse than that. All right. A bit cracked in places. Norton was told. Structurally irreparable. No. She's a beauty. And part of the family heritage. I tell you what. Why don't we do this? I'll send someone to collect her. We'll clean her up, take a look at her. And then we can talk again. We don't need to talk again. This could be a hobby for you. Oh. No, it's really not for me. Well. That was my attitude at first. But then I tried it, and I saw the light. Mr. Colthurst. Hello. I'll take that. Thank you. How is it? Oh. Bloody hell. Very evenly matched. He moves infuriatingly well. For a tall man. Quick to the tee. Plenty of nasty little drop shots and boasts. We played the best of 3 games. Pipped him in the 3rd. I wasn't asking about the squash. I want to know about the lunch. A little Italian place. Near the squash club. La Barca. Run by a husband and wife. Not where you had lunch. Oh, sorry. Or what you ate. Linguine. Let's start with who paid. He did. James. He's a tabloid journalist. And he bought lunch because he lost. And if you're worried about indiscretion, he got nothing from me. Not a word. Whereas I got plenty out of him. Revelation number 1. He's already started writing. What? He thinks there's another book Coming out about you. That's likely to be a hatchet job. Based on sources. Close to the Prince of Wales. Oh God. Anyway, Morton's view is that his version would at least give you some control. Like, be sympathetic. He'd even let you have final approval. I'd love to have a book out so everyone understands how difficult it's been. But I don't want to be responsible for starting a war. Morton said that you'd never need to meet him. Ever. There'd be no connection between you that anyone could prove. It would all be totally deniable. How would that even work? Tape recordings. You'd record your side of the story, saying only what you want to say, all in your own words. And then Morton would write the book from those recordings. If he and I don't meet, how would he get the recordings? There would have to be a middleman. A go-between. Someone who you both trusted. Someone who thought it was important. And you would do that. If you wanted me to give it a little bit more on that side. Morning. Oh, marvelous. Marvelous. You got the hickory in time. Hope this is all right. I've taken the liberty of sketching a few ideas. Let's bring the axle so we can maneuver. You missed a bit. Drawings. Yes, sir. Wood ready. Absolutely marvelous. Thank you, sir. They said it couldn't be done. We pulled all the stops out, sir. Certainly did. Everybody worked hard. What do you think? Is it even the same carriage? The original paintwork was a dark black. I thought we'd add these dashes of gold. And this nice, sloping footboard. Go on. Now grab here. A foot here. The other foot here. How does it feel? Fine. Largely because it's not moving. You try. These two reins control the leaders. Those are the horses at the front. And these two, the wheelers. They control the horses nearest to us. Feel free to nod or say yes. To let me know you're still alive. Yes. The trick is to keep these both together. Put between these two fingers. There. Now, with these two reins, you have control over all four horses. To turn left, make a loop. That's it. Turn to the left. And to turn right. Very good. Off you go. Here. Let me take them. Bruh. Burr. WH. Where are we going? Bruh. Burr. Hang on. Surprising, isn't it? Yes. More fun than it looks. Yes. The princess is intrigued by the proposition and is willing to consider it. But as her friend, I want to make sure this will actually make her life better, not just yours. You understand why I ask? She can be a little naive at times. And you stand to become a rich man. I feel protective. As a royal correspondent, I've had a ringside seat to this marriage for a while. Most recently, her second honeymoon. And I can't stand to see someone being crushed like this. You think she is being? I do. Take this book that's being written with the Prince of Wales' cooperation. Maybe not him directly, but his friends, for sure. They want what they see as the truth about Diana to be told. Trust me. It won't be pretty. I just want to do what's right for her. She's like a sister to me. And I give you my word. No one will ever know she had anything to do with it. Let's take it one step at a time. Get a draft written. The princess can always kill it later, if she wants. Here's a list of questions for her. Bye, Mummy. Bye. James Colthurst. Thank you. Ready? I'm suddenly incredibly nervous. Andrew wanted you to start by explaining why you're doing this. Because I've tried everything. I've confronted my husband about his mistress, and I've been dismissed. I've gone to the Queen. It's like facing a blank wall. And it finally dawned on me that unless I get my side of the story out there, people will never understand how it's really been for me. And I thought about moving abroad with the boys. But the Crown could take legal custody of any heirs to the throne, and I'd have the boys taken away from me, which is what happened to my mother. And I couldn't survive that. Can you tell me something about your childhood? It was a very unhappy childhood. My parents were always wrapped up in their own problems, and my mother was always in tears, and my father never telling us what was going on. And there was always a succession of nannies who I hated. Prince Charles famously replied, "Whatever in love means." When asked if he was in love with you, how did that make you feel? Absolutely traumatized. My self-worth was cut in two. But I was too scared to ask him what he meant. And then it was too late. From the outside, it was the fairy tale wedding. How did it feel on the inside? Like a bad dream. The night before the wedding, I was suddenly overwhelmed, and I sobbed my eyes out. I ate everything in sight. I was sick all over the place, which was a big sign that all was not well. While walking down the aisle, I was overwhelmed with love for my husband. And then I saw Camilla in her grey suit and her pillbox hat. And I just felt chilled to the bone. How quickly did things start to go sour? Well, I started to unravel at the honeymoon. And at night, I was having these dreadful nightmares about Camilla. When the Queen was there, I always felt second place. Charles barely looked at me. I felt like a fish out of water. And I was so thin. My bones were sticking out all over the place. When I talked to him about photographers hounding me, he talked about Camilla. When I tried to be brave and make a speech in Welsh, I got no support. I felt like a lamb to the slaughter. Did you feel your husband was committed to the marriage in the same way that you were? Well, there was always the other one. From the word go, I couldn't compete. And I'd overhear him on the phone to her. And he used a voice I'd never heard him use with me. Tender, caring, adoring. When I was pregnant with William, I threw myself down the stairs at Sandringham. Andrew's listened to the tapes. He has. And, drafted some follow-up questions. What did he think? I think he was shocked. He said he had to look up bulimia nervosa in Kumar and Clark's. I have to admit, there have been a few surprises for me in all this too. I wish you'd have told me before about the suicide attempts. I'm so sorry. Why didn't you call us? He wants to know if he can speak to any of your friends. Why? It would help with the deniability. If he can show he has other sources for all this, then it gives you cover. He'd ask the same questions I've asked you, and they'll be corroborating witnesses. All right. We can start with Sue. Who's Sue? My aromatherapist. And Felix Lyle. Felix Lyle. My astrologer. And Una Shanley Toffolo. Oh, don't tell me. She's your Reiki healer. My acupuncturist. And Stephen Twigg, my bodyworker. It's like an osteopath. Right. Good. Good. You're doing really well. Excellent. Here we are. Now, I've had a go at the governing instrument for the charity. These are the trust deeds, the memorandum, and the articles. What do you think of a research fellowship? A. To study cancer in children. They were also good to us at Bart's. Made such a difference to Leonora's final days. I think that's a lovely idea. Getting registration can be a bit of a slog, but, well, I'm on good terms with some of the charity commissioners. Let me talk to them. You know, a long time ago, I lost my favorite sister, Cecile, in an airplane crash. I learned then what grief was. True grief. How it moves through the body. How it inhabits it. How it becomes part of your skin, your cells. And it makes a home there. A permanent home. But you learn to live with it. And you will be happy again. Though never in the same way as before, but that's the point. To keep finding new ways. Yes. Oh. Are you all right? See that? Come out of nowhere. See that? Thank you. Don't be silly. Anything you need, you have the number. That gets straight through to me. Avoids the operator and all that nonsense. Oh, I almost forgot. Something Norton wanted me to pass on. Apparently, there's a book being written about the Princess of Wales. With her cooperation. What kind of book? One that claims how badly she's being treated by the family. Everyone's failure to understand her. The jealousy everyone feels about her popularity and success. Norton said he'd had several calls from people saying that either they'd been approached or knew someone else who had. Probably just gossip. Norton should know better. Send him my best. I will. You don't think the two incidents are related? You get knocked off your bike. Then Andrew's house gets broken into. Not the first time I've been driven into the gutter by white van man. And break-ins happen in London hundreds of times a day. Besides, nothing was stolen. I'm not answering that. I'm not speaking on this thing again, ever. I heard a click on our line this morning. On this end. Patrick. Jeffson. Miles, good afternoon. Right. Of course. We'll come right back to you. Miles Hunt Davis. The Duke of Edinburgh's private secretary. Requesting a meeting with you. As soon as possible. 3 miles. From Castle Derg in County Tyrone. When at least 2 terrorists were frightened off as they planned to ambush an off-duty member of the Royal Irish Regiment at his home by security forces in the early hours of the morning. According to police, the fierce exchange of gunfire. Well, it's been a while since I've been in Kensington Palace. The leper colony. Is that what you call it? I think of it as the depot where we put all the mad old aunts, all watching each other's comings and goings through net curtains. Is there any privacy at all? None. Ghastly. Because privacy's so important, isn't it? Yes. Confidentiality too. I suppose that's what I've come to see you about today. Please. I won't if that's all right. Yes, I can be a tough old nut. But I've always had a soft spot for you. Maybe because you're young. Maybe because you're a beautiful woman. Maybe because I often share your frustration with your husband. I've always felt protective of you. Fond of you. There, I've said it. So when I see you making errors of judgment, I want to lean across the table and remind you, I'm on your team. What am I trying to say? You're not a novice anymore. You're long past the point of thinking of us as a family. That's the mistake people make. In the beginning. But you understand. I think, it's a system. And we're all in this system. You, me, the boss. The cousins, the uncles, the aunts. The lepers. For better or for worse. We're all stuck in it. And we can't just air our grievances. And throw bombs in the air. As in a normal family. Or we end up damaging something much bigger. And something much more important. The system. So the tip I want to give you is this. I mean, just be creative. You can break as many rules as you like. You can do whatever you want. You can make whatever arrangements. You need to find your own happiness. As long as you remember the one condition. The one rule. You remain loyal to your husband. And loyal to this family. In public. You mean silent? Yes. Don't rock the boat. Right. Ever. To the grave. You're not saying anything. I don't think there's anything to say. Then I think that's the wisest thing I've ever heard come out of your mouth. She'll be fine. Good. Yes. I told her that if she were a little more clever, a little more strategic, she could find all the happiness she needs in this system. Without anyone being any the wiser. Is that the solution, do you think? That husbands and wives should keep secrets from one another? Secrets? That's not a very nice word. No. No, what I mean is, you know. If people were, well, more considerate, more mature, more discreet, it can actually be the glue that binds it all together. You see, I think in a marriage, one should aim to exist without secrets or accommodations. Yes, well, that's because you are who you are. And not just because any husband or wife can feel when something is awry. But ultimately, it's not what I know about you, or even what you know about me. It's what he knows about all of us. I think he has the night off occasionally. Good night. Good night. You're an angel in disguise. With your power of love. You just hypnotize. I just love the magic of your spell. How much joy. Tonight I'm joined by Andrew Morton, one-time royal watcher, and now author of the book that everyone is talking about. Andrew, good evening. Good evening. For anyone who's been living under a rock and doesn't know, could you tell us what your book is about? My book is an intimate portrait of Princess Diana, an attempt to tell the story of what her life, and particularly her marriage, is really like. And the fact is, behind the glamorous public facade, what we have is a woman who is deeply unhappy, which you go into in great detail in a book that seems to be channeling Diana herself, and yet which you claim she was in no way involved. I can say categorically that I did not interview the princess, but I spoke to her friends, associates, anyone who was willing to talk. Many not just willing, they were desperate to tell the world how it really is. And we really are talking about the whole world. I mean, this book is breaking all kinds of publishing records. In France, Holland, Germany, Japan. And is making you a rich man. In the process, do you feel a sense of guilt or responsibility for throwing the royal family into crisis? Honestly, I think the royal family have been throwing themselves into crisis. They knew what they were getting into. With Diana, they knew she was vulnerable. They knew she'd had a difficult childhood. They knew she needed love and security and reassurance. But did they give it to her? No. They gave her the total opposite. so they can't be surprised. She wants people to understand why she hasn't been happy. So, where does that leave us? That leaves us in one of those cyclical moments where the royal family is in genuine crisis, but where the fragile truce between Diana and the royals is clearly not working. There are two alternatives to a truce. Either you have a long-term negotiated peace, which I don't see happening. The two sides are too entrenched. Or you escalate into what? A lout war. Which, sadly, seems to be where this is currently headed.